Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, it's Eben. Welcome to the teleclass. We're going to be getting started here in just a couple of minutes. We've got a lot of people that are going to be joining this particular teleclass. So while we're getting started, let's go through our normal ritual here of minimizing distraction and interruption. Need all your attention here. So go ahead and turn off all the distractors and interrupters around you. Turn off the phone, turn off the TV, turn off anything that's making noise. Turn off the big three distractors and interrupters. Turn off your cell phone and your text messages. Turn off your email and turn off that instant messenger and Skype. Don't want to have anything popping up or dinging or beeping, especially during this particular teleclass. For a couple of good reasons. Also, get something to take notes with. Get something to write on, something to write with. You're definitely going to want to write down what you're learning here. You're going to get an education that would normally cost a lot of money. You do not want to lose this or just trust it to memory. If you're going to use a computer, go ahead and turn off your browser, turn off your email, turn off anything like that so you're not tempted to surf. Get a computer file started, save it to your desktop, get it all ready so that you can Control-S or Command-S if you're on a Mac. Just make sure you're ready to capture all of this great information. If you're joining right now, hi, it's Eben Pagan. Welcome to the teleclass. We're going to get started here in about one more minute. While we're getting ready, and we've got a lot of people that are joining this teleclass, I just want to encourage you to turn off anything around you that might distract or interrupt you. Close the door, turn off the phone, turn off the cell phone and the text messages, turn off the instant messenger and the Skype, and especially turn off the email. Turn off anything that will tempt you to kind of go and be distracted, pull your attention away from what you're going to learn here. Also, make sure you've got something to write on and something to write with. You're going to want to take some notes here. You want to capture the wisdom that you hear so you can put it into action immediately. You're going to get more good, solid, actionable ideas that you can put into your life to make your life more efficient, make it work better than you've probably gotten in any other hour of conversation recently. Tim, are you with me?
I am with you.
Awesome. All right, so here we go. Hi, it's Eben Pagan. Welcome to the interview that I'm doing here with Tim Ferriss. As it turns out, he's just launching his updated, expanded, revised, and made better in every way version of the 4-Hour Work Week. And I was chatting with him over the weekend here, and we decided to do a little interview and have him share some of the lessons that he's learned. Tim really doesn't need an introduction. If you haven't heard about the 4-Hour Work Week, then, well, maybe you're illiterate or who knows what's going on. Maybe you don't look at the Internet or something. But if you don't know who he is, all kidding aside, Tim wrote a book called The 4-Hour Work Week. He's just an amazing expert on, living the life that you think that you're probably going to hopefully be living in 20 or 30 years, living it now, living the life of what Tim calls the new rich, really putting together the lifestyle that you've always wanted, managing your time, yourself, and so forth, becoming very efficient. And this is an interesting story, Tim. Just 30 minutes ago or an hour ago or something, someone that is a pretty good friend of mine that works with a company that works for a friend of mine sent me an email, and she said, do you know Tim Ferriss? And I emailed her back, and I said, did you see the promotion we're doing here where I'm doing the interview with him? And she said, no. Like, oh, my God. She's like, I have to listen in. He's the reason why I moved to Hawaii. So it was just a really interesting coincidence. So welcome, Tim.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to the call.
So will you just talk just quickly, for those that might not have been paying attention or might be illiterate, maybe couldn't read, what is the 4-Hour Work Week? How did it come into being? What was your inspiration for doing it?
So the 4-Hour Work Week was a book that really never had any plans to come into being, at least from my standpoint, in the sense that the premise of the book, I'll cover that first, is that you can streamline and automate the minutia and time-consuming busy work of life to an extent people do not believe is possible. And in the process of doing so, design an ideal lifestyle. And we can certainly speak about what that means in more detail. The origin of the book was twofold. The first was a number of years since 2003, actually just spoke there yesterday, of giving guest lectures at Princeton University in high-tech entrepreneurship, talking about primarily how, let's just say, a startup of 5 people could compete with an established incumbent of 5,000 people, which requires some very lateral thinking and unorthodox approaches without outside financing. And secondly, in mid-2004, I had a long-term girlfriend, probably with whom I came closest to getting engaged, end our relationship because of my work schedule, which was 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. or so. I would start with making calls to London and work my way across the U.S. all the way to Hawaii and then to Asia and Australia. And her parting gift was a plaque that read, "Business hours end at 5 p.m., which I thought was very poetic and dramatic, so I could take that and put it right next to my Little League trophies. That was a very significant wake-up call for me in the sense that I came to realize at that point, although it was the best I'd ever been doing financially, I mean, at that point, at my peak, I was probably making $100,000 a month, which is, at least for me, a lot of money. And I realized that it was absolutely useless. It had zero lifestyle value without time, because currency, at least as income, is just something that we trade. It is a meaningless piece of paper, except for the fact that we associate a value with it, that we trade for either possessions or experiences. And that started a 2-year process of traveling around the world, both completely eviscerating my own business, giving myself a 4-week deadline to do so or shut it down, and also collecting case studies of people from single mothers to CEOs who had reduced their work week by 20 to 80% and really not sacrificed income in doing so. And it was just amazing how many people I met who fit that bill over the next 2 years, and ended up in Argentina at one point, training for the World Championships in Tango, which is another story altogether, and taught the Princeton class from my apartment in Buenos Aires, and started with this somewhat unusual label of lifestyle design, and basically proposed that the retirement model, the deferred life plan of putting things off that you want to do and want to have, et cetera, for 20, 30 years is a broken model. It's fundamentally flawed, and which I still believe for many reasons. And after that class, 2 students sent me emails essentially saying, dude, why are you wasting your time with 50 students? Why don't you just write a book and be done with it? Ha, ha, ha. And it was one of those ideas that stuck in my head, and sent an email to Jack Canfield, who co-authored Chicken Soup for the Soul, which has sold more than 150 million copies, which for those not in the publishing business, that is a lot of copies, and asked him, Jack, am I full of crap, or is this something that I should actually pursue? And he encouraged me to pursue it, and introduced me to the person who ended up being my agent, Steve Hanselman. I don't think I've ever explained this before, with whom I actually signed our agreement while I was in Belize with my brother, scuba diving the Blue Hole, among other places. So that is the long story of how it came into being.